I'm going to show you how to make a Word document that contains text and graphics so that it can be entered into a learning management system. First, I'm going to save the quarter note graphic by clicking on the image, and it'll open up to the image's homepage. And I'm going to save the linked file as a quarter note into a folder that I've named Blackboard. Now I already have one there, but I'll go ahead and save it anyway, and I will replace it. So you can see that that's the fresh quarter note. And then meanwhile, back at Wikipedia, I'm going to click on the eighth note and open its GIF homepage. And then I'm going to save the linked file as eighth note into a folder I've called Blackboard. And I already had one, so I'll replace that. Next, I'm going to go to Microsoft Word and create a new document, just a blank document, and I'm viewing at 150%. So under your View menu, be sure to have the toolbar visible that's called Drawing. And that enables me to begin by creating a text box so I can control the text as I go. And I want to say a quarter note contains how many eighth notes. So I'll just type in A, leave a blank space for the quarter note, and then I'll say contains how many, and again a blank space, that can be changed later, eighth notes. So my question is set up, and at this point I want to be sure that I'm aware of where my cursor is. In fact, I'm going to hit the return button a few times just to see the cursor here blinking, and that's where I want to insert a picture from File. So I'll navigate to the Blackboard folder, and I'm going to put the quarter note first and just insert that. So there's the quarter note, and then I'm going to again watch where the cursor is, because you want to know where the eighth note is going to be. So I'll insert the picture from File using the eighth note, and that now I can see each of these graphics separately. So the important element here now is to change the properties of this text box by control clicking, and I want to arrange it so that it is sent to the back. Next, I'm going to click on the picture. That's a little bit large, so again I'm going to control click on the image, and I'm going to format the picture. And I think in the size of the picture, if I make that about 50%, it should be better in scale to the text. That might be a little small, so 60 would be good, but let's just leave it at 50. So we'll do the same thing on the other one. We'll format that picture, and we'll make the size 50% as well. So now these notes are nice, and you can see that if I try and drag this note, what it did, you have to be careful here because it's very touchy in Word. That's why you're better off working in a different program. But what it did was it threw the graphic inside the text box, so now I have the same problem that I had before if I was just typing in without text boxes. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z. What I need to do is Control click and tell it regarding the arrangement to put this in front of text, and I'm going to do the same thing not only on, and you can see now I can drag it around without having constraint to the page. So I'll do the same thing to the eighth note. I'm going to arrange it to show up in front of text. Now these are programmed so that if I drag them on top of this text box, they'll show up in front. And I can use the arrow buttons to fine-tune. You can see the quarter note is a little bit out of the way, or in the way of the word contained. So I'm going to just slide that a little bit until that looks pretty good. You can just use your eye to find that, and also I can just resize the original text box so that I don't have all that extra text box around it. And probably once I get it looking good like that, I just did Control Z because as I moved it, it's very sensitive about the relationship between the graphic images and the text box. So at this point, And let me get rid of the grammar correction as well. Okay, so at this point, the question looks pretty good. A quarter note oops, it's a little bit backwards. So you can see that we have some flexibility with these. I'm using the arrows to move this. I can also drag it with my mouse. Let me rearrange that so it's correct. And I prefer to use the arrows because I've found a couple of times where if I drag it into just the right way, it'll actually go inside the text box, and I don't want to do that. So now the question looks a little better. Okay, and there's the question. A quarter note contains how many eighth notes? Now this is good, but the problem is when you preview this in your web page, what you're going to notice is, and every time I've done this I've gotten a different result, it does not render well into the web because of the way that I had to set it up. So this is where you're running into a problem trying to force Word to act like a graphics program. You can get it to look okay in Word, but it's not going to, even if I go in and I save it as a web page, it's going to look the same way as it did when I just previewed the web page. So the one solution that you can do is when you have the question looking the way you want it to, you can actually do a screenshot and you can take a picture of that question setup and then pull it back into Word as this entire sentence as a graphic, and now it will render in HTML fine. But you can see that that's probably more work to make one simple question than is really worth the effort, because you could do the same thing in an HTML editor or a graphics program without having to jump through all of these hoops.